Ben 10 is the absolute epitome of early 2000s Saturday morning cartoons. With its first series starting all the way back in 2005, we've got 4 seasons spanning nearly 50 episodes along with 3 movies. And today, we're gonna cover it all. That's right, today we're looking at the original Ben 10 series from start to finish. So grab your Omnitrix, a snack, and hit the subscribe button so that you'll actually be able to become the alien you want. It's hero time. 3, 2, 1, here we go.
He's got superpowers, he's no ordinary kid, he's Ben 10.
So as per usual, let's get some context. This is Ben Tennyson, a normal 10-year-old kid. He loves video games, sumo slammers, the whole shebang. He's just gotten out of school for the summer, and his parents are making him go on a road trip with his grandpa, Max Tennyson. He's a retired plumber who's taking Ben on a cross-country road trip for the summer in his handy RV, the Rust Bucket. Trust me, it lives up to its name. But also along for the ride is Ben's 10-year-old cousin, Gwen, a smart but snarky teacher's pet who typically doesn't get along too well with Ben. She's coming along for the ride with Ben and Max for the summer, because Max convinced her parents it'd be good for her. And so, here we are, the core 3 of the series. Also, this is the Omnitrix. It's a watch from space that lets its users transform into a number of different aliens. Get used to hearing about it a lot. There's more to cover a lot later down the line. But for now, let's go ahead and hop into episode 1, and then there were 10. We start off how all good shows do, with a giant spaceship battle. On board one of the ships is Vilgax, the main villain of the series, and he's got one goal: get the Omnitrix. Cut to Earth, and we get a better idea of Ben. He's a class troublemaker with a heart of gold, as he tries to save another kid from the school bullies.
Thanks a lot. I was just trying to help.
Grandpa Max picks him up. Ben figures out Gwen is coming along for the trip, and the tensions start to build. Back in space, Vilgax blasts a ship into pieces, causing it to shoot something towards Earth, which Ben finds while out on a walk. It opens up and reveals a green and white watch, which immediately latches onto Ben's wrist, causing him to panic. Yep, that's the Omnitrix. After a while, he messes with it and becomes his first alien, Heat Blast. An alien who can shoot flames and fireballs. He freaks out when he realizes his powers and sets the forest on fire by accident, which Grandpa and Gwen see off in the distance. They head off to find Ben and put out the fire. And after explaining the whole ordeal to them, Ben puts out the fire he started. Elsewhere, Vilgax is super damaged after the space battle, and so he sends a robot to Earth to go grab the Omnitrix. Grandpa, who oddly seems to know something about what's going on, believes Ben and says he's an alien. Or, he just looks like one right now. The symbol on Heat Blast's chest blinks, and Ben goes back to normal, just as the robot Vilgax sent lands on Earth and sends out drones. Ben fiddles with the Omnitrix again and becomes Wild Mutt, his second alien, an orange dog with no eyes, but definitely enhanced senses, kinda like Spider-Man. He must have the Peter Tingle. He takes out one of the drones, but times out and goes back into human form right in front of the second one, who thankfully is taken down by Gwen using a shovel. Ben uses the watch one more time to become Diamond Head, an alien who can shoot and create crystals and takes down the robot, but is forced to cut celebrations short when he realizes he's gotta keep a secret identity.
Way to go, Ben!
Vilgax vows to take the watch from Ben, and Ben shows off one more alien, XLR8, a super fast alien. So yeah, with all these powers, you can imagine all the things Ben can get up to. In the next episode, we start off with Ben saving a family from a house fire, and we get an introduction to his obsession with sumo slammer cards, kinda blowing his cover. Speaking of introductions, meet Dr. Animo, a mad scientist obsessed with wildlife and its mutation potential. Here, he mutates a bullfrog and goes on a crime spree, starting off by having it eat his landlord. I think everyone wishes they could do that every once in a while, but still, that's a bad guy thing to do. At the grocery store, Ben turns into another new alien, Gray Matter, a super tiny guy with big eyes to look through cereal boxes and find a rare sumo slammer card, but ends up having to buy the store's whole supply thanks to his damages. After finding another rare card, Ben sees Animo burst into the store on his frog, intending to shoplift whatever he needs for his experiments. He mutates a bird and a hamster and nearly drives Ben, Grandpa, and Gwen out of the store. But thankfully, even when the Omnitrix is on cooldown, Ben's got the courage courage to at least take out the hamster.
Not even giant hamsters can mess with Ben Tennyson!
Animo leaves, and the gang follow him to the Natural History Museum, where he reanimates a mammoth to become his servant. To fight the thing, Ben becomes yet another new alien, 4 Arms. A super strong red dude with, you guessed it, 4 arms to grab it by the tusks and slam it. Gwen also proves herself to be pretty handy in combat as well. No space watch required. Animo escapes yet again, using a T-Rex he brought back to life, and this time takes Gwen with him, with Ben timing out at the least opportune moment imaginable. Ben and Max find Gwen after Animo and his mutant pets drop her off on top of the Washington Monument, and so,
not if I can help it, it's hero time!
Ben becomes another new alien, Stinkfly, a green bug thing, to fly up and get her before she splats onto the ground. They take out the bird, and after Ben drops Gwen off with Grandpa, he puts his love for sumo slammers to the side to destroy Animo's helmet, which is the source of his power. He kept the helmet as a souvenir though. Here's hoping Animo doesn't get his green hands on it again. The next episode isn't super important to the series, but it has a few important parts, so I'm gonna speed run through it here really quick. Timer starts now. After playing a prank on Gwen,
Ben?
You should have seen the look on your face.
Ben finds a Kraken, but nobody believes him due to a boy who cried wolf scenario. The only one who does believe Ben is this guy, Captain Shaw, who takes the guys out on a boat to find it. The gang are stopped by a group wanting to study the lake, but still don't believe Ben's Kraken story. The Kraken shows up. Ben tries to become a new alien, Ripjaws, but we get our first watch screw up, with him becoming XLR8 instead. People are saved, but the monster manages to get away. Ben and Shaw go after it themselves against Max's wishes. Find an egg. Shaw gets kidnapped by the study group. Ben saves him, and everyone figures out the study group is actually just guys who run a cannery. Who would eat Kraken eggs? Ben finally becomes Ripjaws, an anglerfish-looking thing that swims fast, bites hard, and can only breathe underwater, and saves the Kraken's eggs from the canning guys. And then gets caught by Shaw, who thinks he's one of the Kraken's babies. See, I was kinda speedy there. Alright. Okay, next episode kinda has the same deal as the last one, where it's got some new aliens and not much else, so let's try and zip through this. We kick off with Ben stopping some ATM robbers using a new alien, Upgrade, who can take over any form of technology, which in this case is a truck. You know, I'm just now starting to wonder, how the heck does Ben feel when he does all this, Anyways, Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa head over to their Aunt Vera's place. Some body snatcher aliens attack the senior neighborhood, and Ben gets bored with his aunt's house and decides to mess around. He becomes a new alien, Ghostfreaked. The name says it all. And he goes to investigate the town, finding a suspicious old guy and following him until he times out. After a brief chase, the man is scared off by water, leaving Ben utterly confused. Ben and Gwen look for the old guy, but get attacked by more alien seniors and run into Grandpa Max, who, yep, is also now one of them. Good God, look at those teeth. He could use a brushing. Long story short, the kids find where the body snatchers have been storing the humans. They free Grandpa. The aliens reveal their true, utterly terrifying form. Ben and Gwen take the aliens out using water and save all the seniors before the aliens fly away in their UFO. Alright, back to more lore-heavy episodes. Vilgax gets 3 bounty hunters to go after Ben. 6-6, this purple dude, Tetrax, this guy on the hoverboard, and Crab. He's the crab. They find where Ben last used the Omnitrix, but start to fight a bit over who's the head of their team, and so the 3 split up. While the rust bucket is being repaired by Grandpa, Ben and Gwen go explore an old western ghost town.
Get over yourself, doofus. You don't scare me.
While trying to scare Gwen, though, Ben uses his watch, which alerts the bounty hunters right to his location. Crab gets squished, but does know some counters to Ben's aliens. And 6-6 attacks the rust bucket once the 3 get back on the road, popping the tires and putting everyone back at square one. 6-6 and Crab both chase after Ben, but Tetrax comes in and knocks out the others, with him grabbing Ben and pulling him off. He explains he's here to take Ben off planet to get the Omnitrix removed, as it can't be entrusted to some child. So yeah, apparently Tetrax is somewhat good, I guess. Ben isn't interested though, and so the 2 fight.
It cannot simply be removed like taking off a hat.
but it's eventually revealed that Tetrax is actually the same alien species as Diamond Head. The other two bounty hunters, now teamed up, arrive with Grandpa, Gwen, and the hoverboard, ensuring nobody gets off planet. So Ben becomes gray matter and helps Tetrax take the villains down. Afterwards, Tetrax tells Ben after seeing his smarts during the battle, he thinks the Omnitrix is in good hands for now, and leaves him with his hoverboard as he heads back home. Yeah, apparently he was lying about how he needed that to get off planet. Oh, also, Vilgax isn't happy. Skipping ahead a bit, we've got the episode Kevin 11. It introduces a super important character for the future named Kevin Levin. Why is everyone's last name in this universe a number pun? I swear, we're gonna meet a character named Clive 5 at this rate. Ben gets the family kicked out of a hotel.
You can't always tell me what to do. You're not my dad.
And after a fight with Grandpa, he storms off to an arcade and meets Kevin, who seems to have some electrical powers. After taking out some old gang member friends of his, Kevin takes Ben to his place, a little corner in an abandoned New York subway, and explains he lives here alone because his parents didn't want a freak. Afterwards, Kevin and Ben break into a warehouse to grab the new Sumo Slammers game early, but the police show up, meaning they've got to run. Ben ends up having to tell Kevin about the Omnitrix and becomes Stinkfly to fly the two away. Kevin wants to try the Omnitrix out himself.
So the speed guy at the arcade was you?
Uh-huh.
You're the man!
But Ben explains it doesn't work like that, and so the two decide to team up and do whatever they want with their new powers. Oh man, that doesn't sound good. Thankfully, Ben comes to his senses when Kevin wants to crash a money train into a passenger train to steal some cash, with Ben realizing it'll kill hundreds of people. The two fight, and Kevin absorbs some of the Omnitrix's energy, getting the powers of Heat Blast. Ben stops the trains from colliding, and hops onto the rust bucket for an escape, making up a bit with Grandpa too. But before they can really reconcile, Ben realizes he's gotta go after Kevin, and finds him at his old gang headquarters, terrorizing the guys with his new powers. The Heat Blast powers fade away, but he gains forearms powers thanks to Ben, and so the two fight until Ben times out. Kevin tries to steal the Omnitrix, but is blasted away by its power, and so the others leave the scene. Ben apologizes to Grandpa, but Grandpa says he'll still have to earn his trust back, while Kevin seems to have harnessed the energy blasted off by the Omnitrix. That can't be good at all.
You're funny.
In the episode The Alliance, Ben's got to deal with a violent biker gang who all turn out to be girls, until some of Vilgax's drones come in and try to take the watch from Ben. Ben is able to take both of the villain groups out, but not before Grandpa is seriously injured, and so he takes him to the hospital. Meanwhile, the head of the gang, Rojo, gets embedded with some of Vilgax's machines and uses her new powers to attack the police. I know I was asking if morphing was comfortable for Ben, but I can't imagine being turned into a cyborg while fully conscious would be very good either. Vilgax communicates with her and tells her to find the Omnitrix, and so she bursts into the hospital to grab Ben while he and Gwen are waiting for Grandpa to recover. Ben briefly takes her out.
Omnitrix, where is it?
I couldn't get it.
But she quickly lures him back to her by attacking the police station, and so he becomes Upgrade to get the job done for real this time. But not before Ben meets Vilgax via whatever technology he's using for the first time. He takes Rojo down. She loses her technology. Gwen kicks her in the face.
She's all yours.
And Grandpa is finally out of the hospital. Still though, the meeting with Vilgax stuck with Ben afterwards. So yeah, pretty solid development there. Next up is the episode Lucky Girl. Grandpa is taking Ben and Gwen on a museum tour.
Don't let Mummy Face get to you. She's probably older than that spell book.
Until a new villain, Hex, shows up looking for the Arcamata, Book of Spells. Ben beats him, but showboats afterwards to the annoyance of Gwen. She's a bit tired of not getting attention, saying he's only a hero because he got lucky enough to find a watch. So to cheer her up, Ben gives her the souvenir he got that day. Meanwhile, Hex just bursts out of an ambulance and floats away. Yep, there he goes. He heads right back to the museum to grab the book, but can't complete his spells as he realizes his gem is missing. And yeah, you can guess where it is. Gwen's new gem necklace is making her super lucky, and so she decides to start being a hero herself, nicknamed Lucky Girl. And so she starts to get to do a bit of showboating herself. Hex lures Ben and Gwen to him and tries to take his gem back from Gwen, but she just keeps getting luckier and luckier. Eventually, Hex finally nabs the gem and starts to destroy the city, so Ben and Gwen go after him. with Ben using his powers and Gwen doing great work even without her gem. They beat Hex. Gwen destroys all the gems including the luck one, and Ben even admits she did a good job.
Gwen, you did a good job. Oh, man.
Not everyone needs an Omnitrix to be a hero, folks. That's your big lesson here. You just need a luck amulet. In the finale of Season 1, Vilgax is done healing and is going down to Earth himself. He lures Ben out by attacking a city, and the two finally meet face to face. Ben slows him down, but Grandpa urges Ben to get in the rust bucket immediately, saying he doesn't want to pick a fight with Vilgax. Wait a sec, how does he know his name? After Ben charges back wanting to fight, Vilgax catches him and instantly reverts Ben back to normal. Ooh, that is scary. He kidnaps Ben while Gwen and Grandpa head into a secret base in Mount Rushmore, where it's revealed that Grandpa wasn't a normal plumber before he retired.
I wasn't exactly your normal plumber before I retired.
They find Vilgax and bust into his ship thanks to the Rust Bucket's secret upgrades. And rescue Ben from whatever machine Vilgax is using to remove the watch. Though it definitely messes with it a bit and causes Ben to switch aliens every couple of seconds. Vilgax also apparently knows Grandpa. Must have gone to the same high school. Ben and Vilgax tumble to the Earth and continue fighting while Grandpa and Gwen escape the ship. But the two are caught, causing Ben to sacrifice himself to save them. Vilgax takes Ben back onto his ship, but Grandpa had activated the self-destruct sequence on it. Ben escapes, with Vilgax trapped, and heads back to the surface where he's got a bit of catching up to do with Grandpa, to put it lightly. Cool way to end the season. In the first episode of Season 2, we get a little flashback of Max, aka Grandpa, and Vilgax meeting, alongside another plumber, Phil. It shows what Max thought would be the last time he ever saw Vilgax, when he strapped him to the side of a rocket and launched him at his own ship, blowing him up. Max then also explains that the Plumbers are an underground organization designed to take out anything extraterrestrial. But even still, the Omnitrix surprised him as he thought it was just a rumor. Later that day, the group actually bumps into Phil while trying to catch a loose alien.
Who are you? Who am I?
And he explains that after Max retired, the Plumbers basically disbanded due to Vilgax being out of the picture. So now, he's running his own startup plumbing business. Another situation comes up, and the three go to help out Phil, this time finding two aliens that kinda look like Wildmutt. Maybe they're the same species. Ben becomes Wildmutt to try and talk to them, right in front of Phil. So now he knows about the Omnitrix. Phil whips out a sonic whistle he conveniently had to stop them, but they manage to break free. And only thanks to Grandpa is everyone able to make it out okay.
You know, Ben, you'd make a great plumber.
Suspicious of the whistle, Grandpa heads up to the plumber's secret hideout, only to find the null void projector is missing, but is in the hands of Phil, who's apparently been releasing aliens from the null void to catch and make some money from his own business. He releases another to try and kill Max, but Ben saves him just in time and is now firmly against Phil. They beat the alien and go after Phil, while Gwen hides out in his car and fights for the null void projector while they're on the road. Ultimately, Phil is sent into the null void, and the plumbing business once again goes into half hibernation. In the next episode, Ben becomes a new alien, Cannonbolt. Just as a meteor crashes down from above him, turns out Cannonbolt can roll at super high speeds. And also turns out that the meteor is actually a giant alien tick. Gross. Oh, and turns out the tick has some alien worshippers that trail it along. And it also turns out that the tick sucks the nutrients out of planets and destroys them. So, yeah. Turns out the situation is pretty bad. Ben uses each alien to try and destroy the tick, but each time his efforts fail. He doesn't use Cannonbolt though, as he just thinks he's useless. To make matters worse, those cult dudes trap the three so they can't do any more damage to their precious parasite.
No way! I am not scrubbing that thing's feet.
Eventually, Ben decides to try Cannonbolt as a last resort, which he uses to go through the tick's internal organs, causing it to burst. So yeah, turns out Cannonbolt isn't useless after all.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
In the next episode, it looks like Ben's gone crazy and is starting to wreak havoc. The special alien containment team shows up to take out Ben, but he escapes right afterwards. Gwen and Grandpa head back to the Rust Bucket to get an explanation from Ben, who apparently has just been sitting around playing video games the whole time. Ben decides to figure out who's ruining his reputation and sees a fake forearms on top of a mint, so he heads in to stop him. The three investigate, and Gwen and Grandpa figure out a heat blast they're seeing isn't really Ben, and so the real Ben goes hero to stop him, only to find out that it's Kevin, who can change into any alien at any time. Now, Kevin only has trouble keeping a human form rather than an alien one. And to cap things off, he says his new goal is to frame Ben for a ton of crime before flying off.
He's always wandering away. We're considering getting a leash.
Kevin starts destroying the Golden Gate Bridge as Diamond Head, and after taking out the leader of the alien capture team, he's confronted by Ben. The two fight, until Kevin changes back to a human briefly, before becoming a huge collage of all the aliens at once. And yeah, apparently he can't change back.
Look at what you've done! Oh, man!
He's no looker, that's for sure. Kevin gets blasted by the capture team, and the leader recognizes that Ben's one of the good guys, and all is well. Until Kevin once again pops back up in who knows how long. Turns out Kevin's comeback won't take long at all, as just 2 episodes later in Grudge Match, he's back, ladies and gents.
Have you looked in the mirror lately? It's payback time for turning me into a freak.
He and Ben are fighting in a windmill field until they're abducted by aliens. They pop into a gladiator arena and each take down a robot before they're sent to a room with a bunch of other aliens, who explain they've all been captured and forced to fight to entertain the fans. The champion of the ship, Technorg, shows up to eat his dinner.
Wow! Major disrespect!
And picks a fight with Ben. The head of the ship, Slicks Vigma, beams Ben and Kevin to him and decides to make things more interesting by chaining the two together, telling them that if one of them dies, the other will too. Ben and Kevin start to get the hang of working together and figure out that Kevin, though only having a fraction of the power of each alien, can combine the powers to make up for it, which they use against Technorg to beat him. Ben spares Technorg, and so he vows to serve Ben and Kevin, so the three work together with the other captives to escape the ship. Ben becomes Upgrade to take over Slick and control the ship, and sends the competitors home, and then everyone is gone.
All of you, take the escape pods back to your home planets.
Kevin figures nobody is around to stop him from killing Ben, until Technorg comes out and saves him, sending Ben home and fighting Kevin for the foreseeable future. I think the biggest takeaway here is that aliens have weird names. The episode Camp Fear is pretty much only noteworthy because of the debut of Wildvine, another brand new alien of Ben's, who's a plant-like guy who can use thorns, extend his limbs, and throw bomb seeds. Wish I had more to say about the episode, but hey, cool alien. The episode Ghostfreaked Out changes the entire way we think about the Omnitrix. It starts out with a nightmare of Ben's, with Ghostfreak telling him to get him out. Later that day, while Gwen's touring a prep school, the Clown Freaks, a gang of weird mutant clowns, go figure, start to rob the school. And so Ben goes hero to stop them, but gets Ghostfreak despite not choosing him. He viciously beats the clowns. And when Gwen asks him what he's thinking, he says, "Ben's not here." The clowns flee, and so he floats after them. But when the Omnitrix starts to time out, he says, "I'm not going back." Ben times out and then comes face to face with Ghostfreak. How did this even happen? Well, apparently, the DNA used for Ghostfreak contains enough for a full life form, meaning he's basically been trapped for God knows how long. Ghostfreak bursts into his true form and tells Ben he needs the Omnitrix to become whole again, and the only way he can get it is if he possesses Ben. But right before he can, he gets burnt by the sun and runs away. Unfortunately though, he finds a loophole around the sun issue by taking over a tuba player's body. Man, who'd have thought that Ghostfreak was so dang evil? He then recruits the clowns to be his minions through some fear tactics, and then abducts a student of the school to draw Ben out. He learns he can't merge with Ben while he's an alien, but knows it's only a matter of time until Ben's human again. Luckily, Grandpa has a trick up his sleeve for when that happens. He's got a beam that shines light as bright as the sun to take the paranormal jerk out, but to dodge it, Ghostfreak keeps hopping bodies, and eventually hops into Gwen, where he threatens to make her jump off a building if Ben doesn't give up.
Drop the weapon, and I'll meld with you and take over the world.
Ben surrenders, but becomes gray matter right before Ghostfreak takes over, meaning he's still got a chance. Or at least he did until he once again times out at the worst possible moment. Thankfully though, Ben does some quick thinking and pulls a curtain to blast Ghostfreak with some daylight, incinerating him. Wow, so no more becoming Ghostfreak then. Oh, also the clowns are captured, in case you had a doubt.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Thanks, Ben.
The next episode has absolutely next to no lore implications, so I'll cover it really quick. But here's the interesting bits. To try and get new aliens, Ben messes with the Omnitrix and breaks it a bit, even leaving the ground a bit radiated from the incident.
There. good as new.
Dr. Animo shows up with his bullfrog and Ben goes hero, but this time he's a weird mixture of stinkfly and forearms. Animo finds the piece of the Omnitrix Ben broke off and sees what it can do, and grabs it before hopping off. Ben tries to become hero a few more times, but it never really works out too great. Eventually, he meets Animo, who has harnessed the Omnitrix piece to create mutants. Grandpa gets blasted away and turns into this, which in all honesty gave me nightmares when I was a kid. I mean, that's kinda terrifyingly gross. Ben turns into Ripjaws and Heat Blast and figures out he's immune to Animo's rays. And eventually stops Animo before he mutates the whole world. Gwen flips the piece of the Omnitrix around and blasts Grandpa with a ray to revert him, and my sleep schedule is saved. You know, cause no more nightmares. In the Season 2 finale, Kevin, who seems to have become a space pirate of some sort, finds Vilgax floating through space and wants to team up with him over their shared hatred for Ben Tennyson. Big yikes. Back on Earth, Ben again messes with his watch and unlocks master control of the Omnitrix, meaning he can switch between alien forms at any point and has no cooldown.
Would you mind taking a picture of me and my wife?
Overpowered much? Ben's having fun with his new unlimited power. Or at least he is until Vilgax and Kevin track the watch's energy and find him, and instantly pop him back into human form. Ben saves Grandpa and Gwen, and then goes after the baddies. But after Grandpa shoots the null void projector at the two, Ben is dragged in as well and trapped inside. So this is what the null void looks like, huh? Grandpa sends Gwen in to save Ben, and she quickly gets used to the inhabitants before looking for her cousin. They find each other, but Gwen is captured by Kevin, and so Ben agrees to give up the Omnitrix for her safety. They manage to pull the watch off. But Kevin tries to run off with it himself, causing Vilgax to go after him. Ben and Gwen nab it, but are confronted by the two while trying to escape. And so Gwen tosses it off to ensure they can make it out. Or so it seems. As it turns out, she actually tossed a grenade and left Kevin and Vilgax stuck together as she and Ben escaped. Clever stuff right there. But also, this whole ordeal reset Ben's master control. So now he's right back to getting the wrong aliens and timing out. That's great. Okay, Season 3 time. It's Grandpa's birthday, and Ben and Gwen forgot to get a cake. But that's kind of the least of their problems, as a portal suddenly opens and Gwen is abducted by some random flying girl, causing Ben to run in after her. They arrive 20 years in the future, seeing a statue of Ben 10,000, the hero of heroes, and immediately run into one of Ben's old foes, some rhino with a laser horn made by Dr. Animo. Ben 10,000 shows up and takes him down, but is pretty cold to everyone else, even older Gwen, who, was the one who nabbed young Gwen. Also, she can use magic now, which is pretty fun. She needs young Ben for help with taking down Animo, and knew the only way she could get him to come to the future was by taking Gwen. That's kinda sweet, I think. I mean, it's still kidnapping, so I don't know.
Tell me I didn't grow up to start agreeing with Mr. Dweeb all the time.
Anyway, future Grandpa shows up and uses the future rust bucket to take Ben to Animo's base. And yeah, apparently he's now Bino Gorilla now. Ben 10,000 uses some new aliens who we haven't seen yet on Animo, and also has master control over the Omnitrix now, which he uses to stop Animo all by himself. Not even wanting help from young Ben, who he tied up. Animo escapes Ben's confines after he leaves though, and starts to restore an utterly decimated Vilgax. Man, first he teams up with Kevin and now Animo? Jeez. Ben goes after an alert and finds Animo going for the null void projector, with Vilgax emerging from the shadows shortly after. Young Ben shows up and helps him take on Vilgax, while the Gwens and future Grandpa fight Animo. Also, apparently, Grandpa has a robot arm now. Considering this show released in 2006, we've still got 3 years to make this stuff a reality, so I better expect laser guns and robo-arms in our future. Ben 10,000 decides to bring back a bit of childishness into his life thanks to Ben.
Actually, I was getting ready to settle this the old-fashioned way.
And goes human to take down Vilgax, while young Ben sticks with the aliens. Probably a good choice for a 10-year-old. He uses a hoverboard to lead Vilgax to a pool, and then becomes another new alien to freeze him in it, which young Ben names Arctic Guana. Great name. The Gwens and Grandpa stop Animo, and they celebrate future Grandpa's birthday together, with future Gwen saying she really brought Ben to the future to try and lighten up Ben 10,000, and it worked like a charm. 10,000 gives young Ben a cake. He and Gwen head back, and they celebrate their grandpa's birthday properly. So much went down there. I swear, my brain brain is spinning.
Next up, we've got the episode A Change of Face. In this one, a villain named Charmcaster shows up and tries to cast a spell to switch bodies with Ben so she can have the Omnitrix. Unfortunately, Gwen accidentally switches places with Ben, and so now Charmcaster is in Gwen's body and vice versa. Gwen goes to jail, and Charmcaster is closer to the Watch. So her plan almost worked, I'll give her that. Charmcaster tries to get on Ben's good side as Gwen, but he knows something is up, as she quickly jumps from being nicer than usual to more violent than usual, and then wants to cook an apology meal for Ben. Yeah, Gwen isn't a cook last time I checked. Gwen escapes prison and Charmcaster finishes her dinner, and when the two meet, Charmcaster uses what she cooked to do another body swap spell. Except this time, she switches back to her own body and switches Ben and Gwen by accident.
You're not gonna get the chance, 'cause I'm going hero.
Confused yet? Gwen can't figure out the Omnitrix, and so everyone is captured. But through some teamwork, Gwen's able to escape and become Cannonbolt. Charmcaster starts her body switch spell up one more time, but again is foiled when Ben kicks her out of her bubble and switches back to his normal body. Ben beats her, and Gwen even keeps Charmcaster's book of spells so she can start learning magic. So apparently, that's how future Gwen learned. In the episode Benwolf, Grandpa takes Gwen and Ben to visit an old plumber friend, Wes, who's a part of a Navajo Native American tribe. Ben seems pretty into his daughter, Kai, but before he can talk to her, purple lightning strikes the area, and a big wolf-looking thing shows up. It books it before anyone can stop it, and a flood starts, but thankfully, Ben is able to save Kai without even going hero. Also, the wolf stole a satellite, because apparently that's just something wolves do. The guys go to track down the wolf. Ben becomes Wild Vine, but times out at a bad moment. The wolf slashes Ben's Omnitrix and is run off by the others. While trying to impress Kai, Ben starts having strange things happen to him. Okay, stranger than usual, with him slowly but surely becoming a werewolf. Apparently, the only way for Ben to revert back is if they take out the wolf, and to do that, they need a special pendant dipped in some spiritual cactus juice. While the girls find the cactus, the guys once again find the wolf, and by the time they do, Ben's gone full wolf himself. They put the pendant to the wolf's chest, but nothing happens, and he again darts off. The group figure that this isn't some Navajo werewolf, it's an alien one, which explains both why the pendant didn't work and why Ben's changing into him. It's likely because the wolf registered his DNA in the Omnitrix with that slash of his. So, yeah, that means, once again, Ben's got a new alien in his arsenal, complete with a sonic howl. While fighting in a cave, Ben and the wolf have rocks cave in over them, but Ben luckily escapes. Kai says she isn't interested in Ben unless he's a wolf. That's weird.
Only I can talk to my cousin like that. You just blew it big time.
And the equipment that the wolf stole is shown to have made some ominous contraption. Do we have any idea what it does yet? Not at all. In the episode Under Wraps, we've got a mummy issue. And look, purple lightning again. Ben and Gwen hear about it while doing some farm work and go off to find him later that night, where instead they find weird purple cows. They take the cows down, and then find the mummy, who's digging for some purple rock. He almost crushes Ben and disappears alongside the rock, leaving him and Gwen perplexed.
Now, aren't you glad you went to bed early?
Also, in case you were wondering, Ben goes alien to do a bunch of the farm work, which goes against the entire reason Grandpa brought them there. He wanted to teach them the joys of hard labor, but when you've got an Omnitrix, it ain't hard at all. Once they're done with their work, the kids tell Grandpa about the mummy and the cows, and when he runs some tests, the cows are showing high traces of corrodium, which is a super unpredictable energy source from space. Apparently, if the mummy gets his hand on enough, he could turn everything into stuff like the cows. I like the purple color and all, but not that much. They go off to search for more to see if they can't find and stop the mummy. But once they arrive at the ice cream factory where a shard is located, Ben does the mummy's work for him by digging it out himself. And then the mummy shows up. Great. He gets his wraps on the corrodium and shows off what it can do to someone who's exposed to it, mutating him into a purple monster of some sort. Jeez, I hope this turns out all right.
You should be safe from the mutation effects.
Should be?
The mummy captures Ben and tears his protective suit, but also manages to register its DNA in the Omnitrix by accident. And so, Ben goes alien to make sure his weak human form isn't mutated. He wants to become the mummy, but he gets upgrade instead. And thanks to some quick thinking, he freezes the guy with liquid nitrogen. Also, apparently, the cows and worker that were mutated are fine now, because they weren't exposed too long. So, that's a relief. The episode The Return fittingly starts off with the return of the Space Wolf, who heads over to the ice cream factory to free the mummy. And just as our favorite security guard shows up, they vanish. Well, that's a heck of a team-up. Ben, Grandpa, and Gwen hear of a storm that postpones the launch of a NASA space shuttle, which, is pretty normal, except this storm has purple lightning. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, at NASA, a scientist named Dr. Victor is introducing some new thrusters for the shuttle that will make it perform even better at high altitude. But the flight was canceled for the time being, and Victor isn't happy. Grandpa contacts an old friend to get into the place.
Does this guy look familiar? Best astronaut in the program.
But Dr. Victor sees them and wants them out, especially after seeing Ben's Omnitrix. But they go off on their own anyway. Victor takes over the shuttle operations all on his own, with a little help from the Mummy and Wolf. These guys have gotta have the weirdest friend group. Grandpa and Gwen find Dr. Victor on the security cams, likely causing the purple lightning.
Whoa, a mega merry-go-round.
While Ben runs into the werewolf and becomes the mummy for the first time to try and take him down. But again, the wolf is able to get away. He's gotta be the slipperiest villain ever, I swear. Nobody ever catches him. Grandpa, Gwen, and Ben go to find him. They do. The mummy shows up, and then Victor shows up and transforms into, well, I guess, Victor Frankenstein. Or more accurately, Victor Frankenstein's monster. Look, I don't want to get into details, he gets uglier and meaner looking. Gwen protects the gang with a spell, but not quite enough, as a bunch of rubble falls onto them, giving the villains a chance to get back to their shuttle work. After he gets Gwen, Grandpa, and himself out of the rubble, Ben finds the monster's hideout and watches Dr. Victor send the wolf back to New Mexico and to his satellite equipment. He tries to stop Victor, but is smacked around, leaving Victor to launch the shuttle, while Gwen and Grandpa are inside trying to shut it down. That's not good. Apparently, Victor also took the time to set up another experiment too, that being the resurrection of Ghostfreaked, the head of the team and one who set this whole plan up. Okay, that friend group just got 10 times worse. Oh, also, Grandpa and Gwen are in space with the mummy. This is probably the worst situation Ben has ever been in. In the next episode, Ben's getting some ice cream. Nope, I'm kidding. Ben is dealing with the whole Ghostfreak problem. He's running for his life to make sure Ghostfreak doesn't get control of the Omnitrix, while Grandpa and Gwen try and turn the rocket around. Ben figures out Ghostfreak's master plan is to use a corrodium beam from space and the satellite equipment in the desert to get a huge radiation shadow across the Earth, turning everyone purple and leaving him at full power all the time. Yikes. Ben times out after doing a little bit of damage to some machines, and Grandpa and Gwen are attacked by the mummy and sent into space.
Ah, stupid watch.
Victor finds Ben, but accidentally touches the Omnitrix, meaning Ben can become whatever he is now too. He uses a light beam on Ghostfreak and smashes Victor into the rocket, and heads up in a rocket himself to help Grandpa and Gwen. The two, who made their way into a satellite, stop the mummy right before he sends the corrodium beam out, as Ben shows up and sends the mummy into space. Ghostfreak also snuck up to the satellite though, and turns the beam back on, and accidentally succeeds in casting the darkness over Earth. Ben turns into the Frankenstein-looking alien to take down Ghostfreak, while the mummy, who isn't actually gone just yet, is shot into space yet again by Gwen. Grandpa also deals with Victor, who's floating around in space, while Ben is then ganged up on by the mummy and Ghostfreak. Man, nobody wants to just give up here, do they? Grandpa crashes the rocket into the satellite, saving the Earth, and blowing up the equipment by the wolf.
For Danica! Okay?
Victor also inadvertently sends himself and the mummy through some sort of portal. Well, so much for them. Pretty sure that's a null void portal too. Gwen and Ben float back to Earth, are saved by Grandpa, and after he shows up one more time, they all take out Ghostfreak together and tumble back to Earth. Ghostfreak is added to Ben's Omnitrix once again, and they're stuck in Egypt. Well, I mean, I guess that's what crashing down from space will do to ya. Alright, believe it or not, that last episode wasn't the season finale. This one is. I'm gonna get through it kinda quick though, so listen up. A new alien girl shows up talking about the Omnitrix, and after a short fight with Ben, Grandpa interrupts. But apparently, the two know each other. The alien's name is Xylene, and apparently she was the one who sent the Omnitrix to Earth. Yeah, remember that ship that blew up in the very first episode? That was hers. She crashed on Earth and went into a hibernative state until now. But hearing that Vilgax is in the null void, she feels it's cool to head back home. Also, her and Grandpa seem very close. We see that Xylene was sent on a mission to get a new DNA weapon, that being the Omnitrix, years ago, and offered to take Max with her, but he had to stay home. And yes, they were a couple at one point. I don't quite know what to think of that, but I'll go ahead and just say, good for them.
If this keeps up, I'm gonna hurl sap.
Back in present day, Xylene asks Max to go with her to space, and he considers the offer before a drone of Vilgax's shows up and attacks Ben and Gwen. The rust bucket is destroyed, but the group beats the robot, or so they think. They start to piece the rust bucket back together when Xylene and Ben get into an argument, and it's revealed Max was supposed to be the one who got the Omnitrix, not Ben. Ben runs off.
Don't you get it? She wants Grandpa to go away with her just like before.
The robot returns, kidnaps Max, and so Gwen, Ben, and Xylene have to make a truce and work together to save him. To take the robot out for good, Xylene helps Ben unlock an alien, Upchuck, a little green guy who can eat anything and then spit it back up, blowing it up. Ben eats the robot, saves Grandpa, and all is well, with Grandpa deciding to stay on Earth instead of go with Xylene. But he does give her a parting kiss. Again, I'm just gonna say good for them and move on.
We were gonna lose you, Grandpa.
Nah, you can't get rid of me that easy.
All right, folks, grab your popcorn. It's time for a movie. That's right, you guessed it. We're watching Ed and Eddie's Big Picture Show. No, I'm just kidding. Although if you're interested, please check out our Ed and Eddie recap. Okay, for real, it's time for Ben 10's Secret of the Omnitrix. Animo's got a DNA nuke that'll mutate the whole world, and he's also got Grandpa and Gwen. Now that's a recipe for disaster right there. Ben goes heat blast and tries to melt the bomb, which works for the most part, but does send out some DNA wave that messes with his watch. Ben tries to go stinkfly to catch Animo, but keeps on swapping randomly and becomes gray matter. Luckily, he still manages to catch him, but still very weird. That night, Tetrax returns to talk to Ben and says that he received a signal from the Omnitrix that indicates it's about to self-destruct and kill its host. That is not good. Apparently, they've got to get to the creator of the Omnitrix, Azimuth, and have him turn off the self-destruct mode in less than 4 days, or else, kaboom. Oh, and they don't know where he lives, but they can at least track his DNA signature thanks to the watch. What? Ben also has to leave Grandpa and Gwen behind, because apparently there's a lot of people out there who aren't a fan of Grandpa. Alrighty then. Tetrax takes Ben on board and introduces him to his pilot, Gluto, while elsewhere, Vilgax, yeah, freaking Vilgax, has escaped the null void and is wanting to take Ben down and snatch the Omnitrix. This keeps getting worse and worse. They find out that Azimuth is on a prison planet, but then get an intruder. Oh no, Vilgax has already broken into the ship. Oh wait, no, it's Gwen. She figured Ben would need the help. That'd be fine and all, but she instantly almost kills herself and Ben by opening a door into space. But they're thankfully saved at the last second by Tetrax. Jeez. Also, apparently the only way to save Ben is to take off the Omnitrix, so no more superheroing for Ben after that. Oh, also, it turns out that every time he transforms, the self-destruct countdown speeds up too. Can this day get any worse for Ben?
No, most species love humans. They're considered quite a delicacy.
Well, yeah, it can. When the three reach the prison planet, Ben has to wear this embarrassing disguise to get around, all while he's surrounded by space criminals. Great. Tetrax heads off on his own, but gets attacked by 6-6, and Ben becomes Upchuck to take out who he thinks is Vilgax, but it turns out to be a girl of the same alien race as him. That's why you never jump to conclusions, folks. The girl says she helped make the Omnitrix too, so Ben figures it's gotta be Azimuth.
Hi! You guys have all had dinner, right?
The gang, alongside Azimuth, escapes the prison planet with 6-6 close behind. But, that wasn't Azimuth they saved. It was Azimuth's assistant, Myax. She was a bit fed up with how self-absorbed he was, so she erased his DNA signature from the watch and put in her own. She knows where Azimuth is though, but also knows the truth about the Omnitrix self-destructive sequence. If that thing blows up, it ain't just destroying Ben, It's destroying the entire universe. Why would you even put a self-destruct like that in the watch? Why? Also, she put a little inhibitor on the watch to make sure it doesn't shoot out any weird pulses. Remember that. Vilgax picks up 66, who tells him about Myax, and the two sorta get on the same page. After a little tussle, of course. After Ben guides the ship to the location using his Omnitrix, Vilgax shows up and boards Tetrax's ship. Tetrax and Myax go out to sever Vilgax's ship from their own, and Gluto finds Vilgax. Finally, the battle we've been waiting for. And it's over. Vilgax won. Gwen finds what's left of him, but she's cornered by one of Vilgax's henchmen, and so Gluto sacrifices himself to save her. He's the real hero here. Thankfully, to avenge our favorite glob of goo's death, 66 is shot into space, and so is Vilgax. They got what they deserved. The group reaches Azimuth's lair and get attacked by wild vines.
And no! The self-destruct will accelerate! I don't care!
With Ben having to go hero to try and save Gwen, who gets kidnapped. As much as he tries, Ben can't seem to open the hatch to find her, and so is forced to focus on Azimuth. Tetrax tries to console Ben by explaining he's not the only one who lost a sibling, revealing that he used to work for Vilgax and is partially responsible for blowing up his entire home planet. Jeez, how does that guy sleep at night? Now, his goal in life is to make sure Vilgax never gets his hands on another world-ending weapon. And so, here he is, making sure Vilgax never gets the Omnitrix. They find the creator and talk to him via a hologram, but he's unwilling to help turn off the countdown, saying that this is the consequence for misusing his creation. Okay, this guy's a huge jerk. Ben busts through the doors and into the creator, who turns out to be a gray matter in a giant suit. Well, I mean, whenever Ben went gray matter in the past, he always got an intelligence boost. This explains some things. Azimuth explains the device was never supposed to be a weapon in the first place, as he built it to simply be a device to understand all the beings of the universe. But thanks to Vilgax and Ben, it's a weapon now. The place starts caving in, and so everyone flees outside, only to be greeted by Vilgax and all his forces. Ben starts fighting with a laser gun, but is saved thanks to Gluto! Yes! Oh, and Gwen's alive too. Yay, I guess. I'm just really happy about Gluto. Ben takes off the little inhibitor and blasts everyone.
I'm still not sure the universe is worth saving.
With Azimuth coming in after to deactivate the Omnitrix. He then brings it back repaired and with a new alien, way big, who's really big. He takes out all of Vilgax's army and then tosses Vilgax into the cosmos. So that's that. So wait, Azimuth could always just fix it? I guess he just wanted to scare people into not misusing it with that story. Okay, kinda jerky, but also kinda smart. Azimuth and Myax fly off to find a comfier home, and Gluto takes everyone else to Earth, where it's back to business.
Who knew?
And speaking of back to business, it's time for our next season. Season 4, here we go. The episode Perfect Day starts with a bus full of cheerleaders breaking down in front of Ben, followed up by a spaceship landing, with 66 and another villain, Vulcanus, hopping out. Ben beats the two, but notices Gwen actually worried about Ben after he takes a hit.
You're good to go.
You're awesome!
He also notices Kai was on the bus. Yeah, the girl from the werewolf episode. After the fight, Grandpa takes the kids to a pizza place and also lets Ben keep a new Sumo Slammers game that just falls out of the truck, which seems weird of him to allow, but even weirder is that when Ben tells Grandpa that the Omnitrix has been freaking out, he says it's probably nothing and to ignore it. This day seems too good. It's all a bit strange. It gets even stranger though when another set of Grandpa and Gwen come out and try to grab Ben, causing the old pair to grab them and fight. A more normal Grandpa and Gwen managed to get Ben on the rust bucket and explain the Forever Knights captured him and set up these clones. They try to explain more, but are T-boned by a Jeep. Turns out it was the head of the Special Alien Containment Team, who says that Grandpa and Gwen are shapeshifters sent by Vilgax, and were lying about the whole Forever Knight story. Vilgax arrives and tries to send Ben to the Null Void, but Ben stops him first with the head of the SACT, telling Ben to send the shapeshifters to the Null Void next. Gwen tells Ben it's a little fishy that Vilgax tried to send Ben to the Null Void before he got the Omnitrix, and so he figures it all out, sending the SACT members into the Void. The leader turns out to be the leader of the Forever Knights, Enoch, who's made the perfect world for Ben to distract him while they remove the Omnitrix. And so now they're making his perfect nightmare. They show up at school, and Gwen explains to Ben that she and Grandpa basically snuck into Ben's head, and now they've got to escape before the Omnitrix is removed, or they're all terminated. They find a glitched area to leave, but are confronted by a barrage of Ben's enemies. Luckily though, this is all in Ben's head, so he can do whatever he wants. He makes himself and Grandpa superheroes, and Gwen a rat.
So not funny, Ben.
Quit complaining and bite somebody.
Yeah, that's Ben for ya. Ben escapes and takes down Enoch in the real world, trapping him in his own dream machine. To end off the episode, we see the real head honcho of the Forever Knights arrive after Ben's fled, and says he'll have to deal with Ben himself. Hey, it's kinda like the Thanos post-credit scene in Avengers Age of Ultron. Marvel copied Ben 10. No question about it. In the episode Divided We Stand, while fighting a mutant seagull, Ben becomes another new alien, Ditto. What does he do? Duplicate himself, of course. The seagull is run off, and we see just how many Dittos Ben can make.
Nobody messes with Ditto!
Before Dr. Animo shows up and steals one to extract the DNA. And in case you're wondering, Ben can't change back to his human form without all the Dittos being together. The lost Ditto breaks free from Animo's jail, causing all of them to start floating towards each other. Ben goes back to human form, and thankfully is rescued by Grandpa and Gwen after the seagull snatches him.
They're making me nuts!
That's because they're all you!
Animo pops up, and with the DNA he took from Ben, was able to make monsters based on any of Ben's aliens he wants. And so he chooses Stinkfly and Ditto. Thankfully, one of the things about Ditto is that if one feels pain, they all do. And so from destroying just one of the Stinkflies, all are destroyed. Animo is defeated. Grandpa deletes the alien DNA files Animo had on his computer, and Ben's dittoed out for a while. Alright, to close off Season 4, we've got a two-parter. Ben 10 versus the Negative 10. Here we go. Grandpa's doing a favor for an old plumber buddy by driving his kid Cooper home from summer camp, while it looks like the clown freaks are trying to rob Fort Knox alongside Sublimino, a villain with the power of hypnotism. Don't worry, that's all you gotta know about him. Ben, Grandpa, Gwen, and Cooper arrive on the scene, but realize none of the gold is stolen, and find a hole that leads to a secret abandoned plumber base, with it looking like the villains had stolen something, though we aren't quite sure yet. The villains return to their base, and offer the weapon to the head of the Forever Knights, whatever his name is.
Please tell me that you didn't forget the super duper brakes to go with the super duper turbo?
They show up to another plumber base and find Clancy, a guy who can control bugs, who in this case is using wasps to scare everyone out of a building. Again, that's all you really gotta know about him. They get past him and find Rojo and Charmcaster have broken into the vault. Dr. Animo finds Ben's group though, and so a big old fight starts up. The villains grab a key and escape, and apparently they've got what they need to rule the world according to Animo. So that can't be good.
Hey, how come I'm stuck with the ride from Mr. Maggot?
Just lucky, I guess.
Grandpa figures out that the villains stole a key to a highly unsafe energy source called sub-energy that was given to the plumbers by an alien many years ago. Whoever knew about it has to have had access to top secret plumber intel, and well, I think we can guess it was the leader of the Forever Knights by the end of this episode, as he meets the gang at Mount Rushmore as the episode ends. The next episode picks up right after the last one, with a big fight going on between Ben and the Negative 10. Cooper miraculously helps Grandpa and Gwen sneak into a bit of the base, while Ben takes care of the others outside. With a little help, Ben is able to sneak into the base as well. Grandpa figures out the Forever King is actually a former plumber named Driscoll, who was caught stealing weapons from the agency to benefit himself. He was kicked out, but knows Mount Rushmore incredibly well, which means no good for the Tennysons. That said, they do have a little extra help from Cooper, who apparently can understand and control technology on a sort of psychic level. Dang! The villains break in, but are put back a bit and locked away from the sub-energy. However, Cooper turns on them, and the gang realize Sublimino must have got to him earlier. They incapacitate him, before the bad guys bust in once more. Ben becomes I-Guy, another new alien who does God knows what, and the fight is on. The numbers game is a bit much for Ben's team, and so the Forever King gets his hands on the energy. He escapes, and Ben follows, thanks to the other villains being pitted against each other thanks to their egos. They later get trapped thanks to their issues too. Ben takes on the Forever King as Upchuck, and
now that hits the spot!
And eats the sub-energy, blasting the king into God knows where. All that's left of him is his gear. Dang. Oh, and Mount Rushmore is really badly damaged, so yeah, so much for sightseeing. And that is the original series of Ben 10. But there is one last thing I need you guys to see, but be forewarned, it's a little cursed. That's right, there's a live-action Ben 10 movie called Ben 10 Race Against Time. Here's live-action Heat Blast, live-action Gray Matter. Good lord, this transformation is so funny. Some dried-out husk guy that gave me nightmares as a kid, live-action Diamond Head, and live-action Wild Mutt. So, there you go, folks. Oh, also, the other Ben 10 movie, Destroy All Aliens, is pretty good too, just not entirely useful towards the plot of the rest of the series. Give it a watch if you want. Anywho, now that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all very much for watching, and stay tuned for our Alien Force review. See you next time.